What's going on, everybody? I hope. Sorry for the delay. That's totally my bad. I'm sorry I was late. It's that thing that whenever you think about technology and you need technology, that's the moment that technology is like, or you're gonna take a minute, girl. So, hi everybody. How are you? Thank you for joining me on this power breakfast, or as my family would say, el desayuno de poder. If this was a Sunday, we'd be having barbacoa tacos. What's up? How is everybody doing? I hope everybody's doing having a great day, doing the best that we can. You guys, I got asked to do this, the power breakfast. All they had to say was Rio Grande Valley. And I was like, sign me up. The moment they said Rio Grande Valley, I started thinking stripes. Oh my God. It's such a pleasure to be here. For those of you that don't know me, my name is Cristela Alonzo. I am a stand-up comic. I'm an actor. I do a little bit of everything. I wrote a book that came out in October that actually talks about my life growing up in the Rio Grande Valley called Music to My Years. But more importantly, I am a Texan. More importantly, I am a Rio Grande Valley native. My family still lives there. I support and love the hell out of it. So I made some notes. So just so you know, I'll be looking at my notes just to make sure that I cover everything, okay? I'm here today because I'm doing an Instagram takeover for the Planned Parenthood Texas Votes account because of one thing. Elections are about choice. When you go vote, you make a choice. You go vote to make a choice about who you want to represent you. And Planned Parenthood is about choice. It's not about forcing you to make a choice. It's about allowing you to make your own decisions about how you take care of your body. That's why I'm here, because I believe that. I agree with it. And also I'm here because they support people, they support politicians that believe in the same thing. So having said that, I'm going to see how I can do this. I want to see if I can, I'm trying to see if I have my guest coming. Let's see. I'm going to wait till I see an invite from them. So for me, by the way, while I wait, if you haven't noticed, my t-shirt says Vota, and my t-shirt is actually from a local Rio Grande Valley t-shirt designer, Jen Zeno. I hope I said Zeno right. You know, it's funny. I've been buying her stuff for years, and I just realized that when I give her shout outs on Instagram, I always just tag her. I've never said her name out loud. Like, you know, why would you say the brand name like when you're talking to that person? So, our guest is here, and I want you guys to help me welcome our awesome guest. Let me see if I can. Please help me welcome Sara Stapleton-Barrera. Oh, hey!
Hi,
Hi, how are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm good. It's so good. It's so good to see you. I feel like being with you right now, it's like I'm home right now. I love it.
Woo! Thank you for having me. I'm so excited to be here, and I'm so terrible at Instagram. I literally was trying to figure out how to do this and did a live of my pajama pants.
Well, you know, that's the thing. Also, like, look, I'm wearing a shirt on top, like in the bottom. I'm just wearing these like the shorts that you wish you could throw away, but they're so comfortable that you can't throw
Yeah.
away.
Business on the top, party on the bottom.
Exactly. I'm like dressed like a mullet. So Sara, for those of you that don't, for any of the viewers that don't that aren't familiar with you, give us a brief introduction to you.
Okay, yeah. So I'm from Brownsville, Texas. I'm a mom of three. I'm a constitutional attorney. I'm a former teacher. And I am running this crazy race. Whoa, I just see purple. Do you guys see that? Or do y'all see me?
Yeah, you just became purple.
Okay. Well,
Hold on. Do you want to try to log on again?
yeah, let me try that.
Okay, cool. You guys, this is the thing about technology is that we're all figuring it out. But isn't it weird though too? Like you always think, oh, here, hold on. I think we got her back. We're connected. There we go. Girl,
Awesome.
you know, isn't that like, isn't that technology can be great, but also one little thing and you're like, I'm sorry, did I just become invisible? What's going on?
Yeah, I've realized that I've become like sort of okay at Facebook, but the Instagram and the Twitter thing, it's like mind blowing, but I'm working on it.
Well, you know what, girl, you don't have like, of course, you don't have time to. I'm good at Instagram and Facebook and all that, but I have to be. I'm a stand-up comic. Like you're trying to change. You're trying to change the Rio Grande Valley. Like, you don't got time to learn how to do Instagram.
One of these days, we'll see.
So, we're here on the Planned Parenthood IG channel. So you were giving us our introduction to you. Like, so for people that aren't familiar with you, you were saying you're mom of 3, Brownsville.
I'm a mom of 3. I'm from Brownsville. I've been practicing law for about 10 years now, and I'm a former teacher. We've never had this type of representation from South Texas being our voice up in Austin. We've never in all of history had a female. We've never in all of history had an attorney in this in this position. And I feel like it's so necessary. It's time. The time is now. So I'm extremely excited. This race has been like a roller coaster, if you can only imagine. But it's been great. And I think that we can win. And I think that once we do, we can actually move forward and make some real change. So it's extremely exciting.
You know, it's funny because obviously having grown up there, my family still lives there. I go down there as much as I can. I support the Valley as much as I can because of actually what you said. It's this weird thing where like I left the Valley and realized when I come back that it hasn't changed much. And I'm in my 40s. So, you know, it's this thing where, you know, things change. Things, you know, and things have to evolve. It's not even change, it's evolving, you know. So it's interesting because when I was, you know, when I first heard about you a while back, when I saw that you were going up against Eddie Lucio, that was the first thing I saw. I remember seeing Eddie Lucio signs when I was a kid, you know, so it's insane that it's still the same, you know. And honestly, because again, we're on the Planned Parenthood Texas Votes channel, I want to mention, like, to me, it's really interesting how reproductive rights, just health, you know, healthcare for women in that area is obsolete. You know, and it's about giving people the choice. So for me, my first question is, why is access to that so important to you in the Rio Grande Valley?
Yeah, because like you just said, we don't have it, right? Abortion is essential health care. Just last week, the U.S. Supreme Court ruled that it's unconstitutional to impose medically unnecessary laws that burden a person's right to safe, legal abortion. Look, I understand that people have feelings about the issue all across the spectrum, and that's fine. Everybody's entitled to their beliefs on how they feel about it. I support a person's fundamental right to make their own personal health care decisions with their doctors without interference from politicians. You know, and like you said, well, here in South Texas, we're, I think, at 38% uninsured, which is a crazy, mind-blowing number. You know, and the distance that people have to travel to get affordable health care and access to health care is, you know, sometimes it can't be done. And as a result, it's resulted in negative health outcomes, even death. You know, we had a death down here in South Texas because someone couldn't access healthcare, and you know, time and time again. So yeah, it's vital, it's necessary, and our citizens down here deserve it.
You know, and it's interesting too, because like for me, I think that one thing that people always overlook is that when you give people the choice to do what they want with their bodies, that doesn't mean that they're necessarily going to have an abortion. It's just giving them the option. And I think that one thing that we constantly overlook, especially with an organization like Planned Parenthood, is that they offer so many services that are not even tied to just abortion. It's about actually taking care of women's health, So it's interesting how, you know, the idea of it has always been vilified by so many, but it really is. I mean, you say it perfectly. 38% uninsured. And actually, I'm surprised it's that low down in the Rio Grande Valley, because growing up, I know my family personally, we couldn't afford the doctor. So, you had to be really sick to go seek any kind of treatment because you knew that was going to come out of your pocket. So, I mean,
Yeah.
I love that you have this voice, that you have this agenda where, you're coming in and basically saying, hey, how about this? I'm a mom of three.
Right.
I decided to have 3 children. I'm going to give you the same choice too. So,
Right.
I mean, fantastic. It's great. So like,
Yeah, and the thing is that for so long, I mean, we've had, I think from San Antonio down, it's all male senators. We don't have a female voice that are making these important decisions for us. It's all people that do not have a uterus and cannot get pregnant who are making these decisions. And to me, that's problematic.
no, absolutely. And, it's really interesting. That's actually a great point. And, it's interesting too, going back to like what I was saying earlier about like Eddie Lucio, and no knock on his age. I would never do that. But it's like, it's this thing where when someone's been in office for so long, you get used to things that you realize that sometimes the community voice and asks are different because, it's just a circumstance. And honestly, I mean, when it comes to reproductive rights or just any healthcare regarding women, why, there should be a woman that's consulted, that's available to talk about the experience, So it's so interesting because you're right. I hadn't thought about that. It is very like, it is predominantly, it's men, it's like, first of all, people don't know, a lot of people that don't live in Texas don't know that the Rio Grande Valley exists. Like for me, when I tell people that I'm from South Texas, everybody tells me, oh, San Antonio. And I'm like, no, babe, like there's a whole other world like down south and we need to represent,
Crazy.
So having said that, I mentioned that, we've talked about how you're a mom of 3. So I want to know personally, as a mother, as a woman, as a mother of 3, what do you think you bring to the legislature, like legislation in Texas? Like, what is it? What is your voice? How is it different from what we have right now?
Yeah, so look, a typical day for me is very similar to all the other mothers in South Texas, right? I get up, I work a full day, get home, pick up the kids, make dinner, make sure everybody does their homework. I mean, it's like nonstop from, 6 in the morning till 9 at night. We need that voice to be heard, and the fact that there's still a wage gap and women are still getting paid less than men, when a lot of times, women are, do a lot of extra work that you're not getting paid for, right? I mean, we don't get paid for picking up our kids or making dinner, any of that sort of stuff. Yeah. So certainly, I mean, it's a perspective that I've lived in day out, I guess for the past 8 years now. I've got an 8-year-old. And we need to make things easier for women and single moms. I was a single mom at one point, and that's no joke. We've got to make life easier and not so many barriers so that we can, live happy and full lives.
That's so true because honestly, I was raised by a single mom, like throughout my entire life, and looking back, I don't know how she was able to do what she was able to do, and it's interesting because, again, going back to what I was saying, the perspective, there's issues that are important that unless we're there in the room, we don't talk about. And I just mean as women, because I was a nanny for years. I know how important childcare is, like childcare tied with education is vital, and if you don't have that experience, then you can't understand how it's all connected. It's like, it's so weird to be in the year 2020 and you and I are having to talk about how like rights for women is important. Like how issues for women are important.
I know. It's mind blowing. I mean, I feel that same way when I have conversations about the LGBTQ community. It's just, it's my, and we're still having to fight for equality. I mean, it's as basic as equality. It's crazy, but yeah.
Yeah, no, hold on. I think you're catching up. Are you frozen on your end or are you good?
We're good.
Okay. So, you brought up LGBT community and I am a big supporter. For me, I will fight for LGBT rights for my community because the most important people in my life have been gay, have been from the community. I mean, it's like anyone that goes against them goes against my family. That's how I see it. I mean, for me, it's just all they want is to have respect, and because
Yeah.
you mentioned LGBT, it's like, and honestly, I have to say, I love that we have to acknowledge that. I love that there's more people being so vocal about their support and love for the community, because that's exactly what it is, to amplify it. So speaking of LGBT, like, what are you how are you going to advocate for the community? What can you bring? Because I know that Eddie Lucio actually voted back some time ago. He voted for the transgender bathroom bill. So he was trying to make, transgender people, like the transgender brothers and sisters we have, go to the gender they were born under, which I think is just a terrible idea, because that's not who they are. So how are you going to advocate? What is part of your plan?
Yeah, well, that's just the tip of the iceberg. I mean, he's also, said publicly that he only believes in traditional marriage. He's also said he's voted in favor of the discriminatory bill, where license holders can discriminate against people that come in to seek their services. I mean, first of all, we need somebody in there that's not just voting in favor of these discriminatory bills, but we need somebody that's in there that's proactive and saying, hey, look, we don't just vote for these bills. We sit down, we get together, and we write this stuff and we make it right, because it's not right. Clearly the inequity is still way overweighted. So we get in there, we fight, and we make them listen.
Yeah, and it's weird because, again, it's like, that's why a lot of people don't understand, is that, especially with our transgender family, organizations, again, like Planned Parenthood, serves everybody. It's that thing where, that's the thing about evolution, right? Even in the past couple of years, we've, as a society, have had to evolve into learning pronouns that people want to have have used for them, which is, something that, when I first heard about it, was this initial thing where I had to learn, and now I ask, and I say that because that's a perfect example of how all we have to do is listen to the needs of people and see what they want. It doesn't hurt me to use a pronoun and to accept people for what they are. So, it's interesting. And I say that because just the pronouns, this just happened, recently, where it became this public issue. And I mean, the fact that, you're saying that the incumbent, Eddie Lucio, right now, I mean, the fact that look, I'm for traditional marriage, but I'm also for any marriage. I'm just supporting all marriage. You know what I mean? So it's like, but the fact that it's like, I just want people that love each other to be able to love each other. So the fact that he believes that, for me personally, makes me wonder, okay, if that's your belief, if that's your ideology, then you have decades or never to go to get to even the pronoun conversation. And those are pronouns, so it's so interesting, No, never getting there. And it's, it's so different. I have to tell you, it feels weird to me to talk to someone like you running in the Valley, because growing up, I would have never imagined someone like you running for office in the Valley. And I think I just realized that right now.
We're in the same boat. Me neither.
No, it's true. It's, it's funny. It's funny to have, it's really kind of eye-opening that right now I'm realizing I'm having a discussion with somebody from my home. I mean, you're from Brownsville, so you got Gladys Porter Zoo on your side, but you know what I mean? It's like, but like we're from RGV, and we're talking about these issues that growing up, I would have never imagined that anyone running for office would be talking about. And I think that's so amazing. It just, I had to say that because I hope people that are watching this understand how
Yeah.
your ideas are not, they're not ambitious. They're not like outlandish. They actually go along with most of the country and where we are right now, so
You're right.
but it's weird. It's weird how you stand out. Like, to me, like, you stand out in the Rio Grande Valley because of that,
Well, when I just
also,
decided to run, I ran and I told
yeah.
people, hey, I'm going to run and I'm running against Lucio and these are my ideas. People thought I was insane. They're like, you're out of your mind. There's no way that you can light a candle to him. He's been there for 30 years, has $1 bajillion. And, once I started telling them a little bit about my platform, people said, we're so conservative down here. But the more outreach that I've done and the more that I've actually talked to real people, I've realized that that's not the truth. I mean, people are ready to move forward. People have progressed with the times. So it's just a matter of us going there. But people are ready, and I'm excited because the pushback that I first experienced has dissipated and we're at a new level.
And you're so right about that, because I think that throughout the years, that's been the idea of the Rio Grande Valley, is that, conservative, blah, 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 it's just like, I do like the get out the vote canvassing during elections. Like, I go down there because I'm on the board of Lupe, so I work with Lupe down in the valley. So like during election times, I'll go down there to support. And it's funny because so many times I'll meet people that are so cynical because they believe that change is not possible. But
yeah,
it's because they don't see the change. They don't see the people
yeah,
that think like you. So it's this thing where, like, it's so easy to say, well, so and so's been there for 100 years, so they're gonna. Well, yeah, but that's because you think like that. Like, so if you didn't think like that, then we could bring in some new blood, some new perspectives. So here's another thing also that I wanted to bring up, because the Rio Grande Valley, we've made headlines in the past couple of years. I mean, we're making headlines right now with the spike in cases for like coronavirus, and we've made headlines a couple of years ago for the family separations and the camps, and just the state of what the detention centers exist in the valley. And it's weird because, like, for me, I want to talk about that because I feel like when we talk about them in the media, it's always journalists or it's always people that are not from here. So, it's that thing where they don't get that perspective. So for me, look, the conditions seem awful, terrible, insane. And for me, I just want to know, it's like, as state senator, what would you do to try to help the detention centers in regards to like the family separations, and or like just like, what's the plan, like, with the cases of COVID with detention centers? Like, what is your vision to actually make change in this situation?
Yeah, no, that's a great question. This issue holds a really special place in my heart. I've been practicing law for the past 10 years. So I've spent, I would say at least a couple times a week in the jails, in the prisons, in the detention centers, visiting with the people, spending time with the detainees. And the conditions, you're right, are horrific. I mean, each time I'm in jail, I'm there for an hour or two. And I'm ready to get out once, we're done with our visit. I cannot imagine spending 6 months there, a year there. And some of these people who've done nothing wrong, who are in this sort of like weird limbo period, and what's sort of been brought to light as of recently, which is extremely disturbing, is that Senator Lucio has made hundreds and thousands of dollars in this private prison industry. In fact, he's the one that brought the industry to South Texas. And we have a quote where, he said in an interview a while back, you build a prison get a little bonus. Build another prison, get a little bonus. That's how I was able to build my beautiful home out in the country. I mean, this is why the system is so broken and so radically insane, is because of this private prison industry, where these people are making millions of dollars. That's got to stop. You know, the private prison industry is immoral and wrong in the first place. And the fact that our very own senator is profiting, he's got a dollar sign on each detainee's head, is just wrong.
You know, I think that that's actually something that we should, that's a great point. And I want to emphasize the fact that what you do for a living allows you to see that environment firsthand. So I want to emphasize and highlight that so that people know how rare it is for someone to actually have access to see it, and is running to try to stop and change what they have personally seen in their eyes. Because that's one thing, you know, it's like, it's easy for someone to try to see human beings as prophets when they don't have any personal attachment to them. So when you actually get to go to the centers and see them, when you see the state of things, it becomes personal. I always say that that's the thing about life, is that sometimes people that are critical of a certain community, they're critical because they don't know anybody from the community. So then once they actually get to know someone and they see them as people, then they realize,
it's a game changer.
Oh, they're people. Yeah, exactly. You know, so it's, you know, it's so interesting. You know, it's funny because I think it's important that that people take a minute to really understand what we're talking about. That, like, the incumbent right now is making money. He is living in a house that's built off of profits from people that are being exposed to a virus, that don't have, you know, basic necessities to live. You know, it's disturbing, you know, and I think that's why it's so evident why we need someone like you to kind of changing the guards, kind of changing something different in the Valley.
I mean, for the past 10 years, I've been literally in the courtroom every day, in the trenches with the people, you know, and I see how the good laws can really help people, but how the bad laws can ruin lives, rip people apart. I mean, it's, and these people whose lives have been ripped apart as clients have become friends of mine. And so the fact that people that I know and that I care about are having to live with this very broken system is very sad.
You know, it's funny because a lot of the issues that we're talking about have existed since I was a kid. And it is weird to think that we're still talking about it. Look, and no problem will be solved. And I think I want to make sure that people know problems aren't solved overnight. And also, it's kind of like, I always say that change is kind of like losing weight. You know, like, you want to lose weight, but you want to lose the weight overnight, all of it. But it took you time to gain that weight. And that's the thing about change, is that when you've had somebody in office for decades, I mean, you really have to come in with bold ideas. And again, your bold ideas are pretty normal. I mean, they're progressive.
Yes.
They're about making progress. So it's not like you're coming in here and you're saying, I believe in magic. Like, you know, it's just, you believe in reproductive rights. You believe in the LGBT community. You believe in humanizing the people that are separated, that are caged, you know. So it's interesting because I want people to know, if you're watching this right now and maybe you find yourself being one of the cynical people that thinks that nothing can change, I want you to prove yourself wrong. I want you to go out during the election and vote for Sara, because one vote is one voice. And when one voice stands next to another, that's two votes, two voices. The more people that vote, that's kind of how a choir works. a choir works and sounds beautiful because you have so many voices. So use your voice to vote for Sara, you know? And like I was saying, the issues, I want to go back to the 38% uninsured. So I want to see if you can tell me a little bit about the situation in the Valley right now. You're right. A lot of people back home are uninsured. They don't know how to take care of themselves. They have never been taught to take care of themselves because medical attention is a luxury. It's seen as a luxury and it shouldn't be. So as our senator, how would you, like, what are your plans for Medicaid? What are your plans for expanding like healthcare in the Valley for people that would love to get covered but don't know how?
Yeah, I mean, it's clear we need legislation that provides healthcare for all. I mean, healthcare is a human right. And it's all too often that you go down to the corner here and you see people selling chicken plates or having GoFundMe's to pay for medical bills. And that's not the way the world should work, but that's the way that it works here in the RGV. You know, just a couple weeks ago, I went to Indian Hills and visited Colonia out there. And, you know, the families were telling me, yeah, like, the only time we get healthcare is when they bring in a bus to the colonia, and that's maybe like once a month. So if you've got a sore throat or if you have a cough or a cold, you literally have to wait for this bus to come. And when you get seen, it's basic healthcare, you know, so they don't know if they're getting medication or not, or, you know, if it's something beyond just a checkup. You know, people are literally dying in Indian Hills. One of the ladies told me, yeah, you know, 3 people died here in the past couple months just because they couldn't access basic health care. You know, and I don't even know if our senator realizes that that's how the real world is down here. I feel like he's so far beyond all of us that there's just no insight to the fact that, look, people really are dying. I mean, I'm not saying that to be, you know, over dramatic. People are really dying.
You know, healthcare is very important to me because, again, so, you know, growing up in the Valley, I grew up in San Juan, and like, you know, the first 7 years of my life, my family lived in an abandoned diner. We were like poor of the poor, you know, and we did not have money for doctors. We didn't really know, you know, that's when the home remedies come in, right? When you have, you get your Vicks, you light a candle, you hope for the best, right? Or, you know, like you go to the store, you go to like an HEB or something, you buy your tea and you drink your tea and you hope for the best, you know? And I got to tell you, it's like a couple years ago, I found out I was diabetic and I was on the verge of dying because I was never taught how to take care of myself. But also my mother passed away when I was in 22 because we lived in the Valley. She couldn't afford the doctor. And we didn't find out till she was sick later on that throughout her life, she had strokes that we didn't know that she had strokes because she just got sick and she would live through it because there was no money for doctors. And, you know, it's funny because like, that's another thing people talk about is, you know, when I mention that, people say, well, there's a state government plan. I'm like, how are you going to learn about these programs if we don't have internet? Like, how are you going to find out these programs? Like, you know, like, what is this, you know? So it's that thing where healthcare is so important. And you're right. Like, we don't know how to take care of ourselves. And, you know, it's insane that we haven't had the chance to do more. And it's evident that we haven't had a chance to do more because you actually said a word that I want to focus on for people that don't know, that people outside of the Valley that might not know, colonia. So I always talk about colonias because colonias, it's a word that people outside of the Valley sometimes don't know. So I always talk about, like, you know, it's like colonias. What are colonias? And I'm like, well, basically they're like makeshift little communities that aren't really part of the actual, like, you know, like real communities, quote unquote. You know, they usually don't have plumbing. They don't have, you know, like, you know, it's that thing where life is limited. Access is limited. I mean, you yourself talk about the, you know, like the occasional bus that goes in there just for basic health, you know, and it's that thing where we have, it is interesting. Colonias, I think, are something that we talk about when we're familiar with them. And it's
Yeah.
weird because like I know that again, your experience, what you do allows you to be connected to the colonias and the community in the colonias, that
Yeah.
you can speak about it personally. Whereas
Yeah.
I don't know if others in the race, you know, have actually said the word colonia in years.
I haven't heard it, but yeah, you're right. I mean, you make a great point. You make a
You
great
know,
point.
I mean, you know, to me, I think that those words, there's key words that we've been talking about that I think are so important, that I think that people really need to know. That's your platform. I mean, overall, you know, overall, your message, your platform, just things that you, and by platform, I mean like the issues that you strongly support and want to make your mission, the ones that set you apart from others in the race. What would that be? How would you describe it to people?
Yeah, I mean, I guess overall, the real message is just equality and opportunity for everybody. You know, the senator's stances on vouchers and voting against public schools is problematic because it's not inclusive, it's exclusive. You know, the way that we treat people without health care, it's exclusive. All the laws that are negatively affecting us down here is all based on being exclusive. So we need to find a way to make sure that everybody's included, everybody has opportunity, and then, you know, we can make our lives whatever we want to make of them. But to give some people opportunity and to kick others to the curb is wrong. So it's just simply a matter of opportunity and equality.
You know, when you say inclusive, the first thing I think is inclusive means that we're all in this together. And I feel like a lot of times people that become complacent with what they do forget that.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
so it's so you become disconnected. So for me, you know, it's interesting. I mean, I just want to ask you, I'm going to wrap this up in a minute, but I wanted to ask you, just for the people watching, just on a personal level, why did you choose to run? And what was that moment that you had where you're like, oh my goodness, I'm going to run?
Yeah. So there was two moments. One was years ago and one was recently. About 8 years ago, I found myself as a single mom and struggling. I mean, trying to work a full-time job, pay for daycare, you know, deal with catastrophes that came about every day. And I realized at that point, look, this world down here is not built for single mothers and for working class people, you know, and those that are more destitute. You know, I luckily was able to climb out of it because I had an education, but not everybody down here has that opportunity to go to college, much less law school. And then once I started practicing law, I guess about 2 years ago, I was in a hard case that, you know, lasted for about 6 months in the courtroom. And after that case was over, I needed to take a moment and figure out how the system had failed my client and how the system had failed a victim. And so in that soul searching, you know, I did a lot of researching and I landed upon Senator Lucio and was shocked at what I came across. I was shocked at how he was voting on legislation. I was shocked at all the money that he's made. I was shocked at his Republican donors. And that's when I was like, okay, now that I have this information, I either just like be mad about it or I try to take down the biggest giant in South Texas. You know, so I talked to my husband and he was like, look, if you're going to do it, we're going to do it and we're going to go hard and we're going to give everything we've got. And we did it. I mean, everyone said we were crazy, but you know, a year later, here we are in this runoff that we can actually win. So those were kind of the moments that led up to, you know what, let's do it. We're going all in.
I love that. That's great. I love that. That's like your call to action was living through something and thinking, wait, this is not right. Those are my favorite kind of people. The ones that say, this is not right. How do I fix this? I love that.
Well, I appreciate that, you know, and we haven't had the money that Lucio's had. We haven't had the, you know, a lot of things that he's had. So we've been scrappy. We've been like, you know, on a shoestring budget. We've been extremely creative. But those are the things that matter. And the fact that we're having to do it that way makes it all more worth it.
You know, it's funny because when you say that, you kind of remind me of what we were talking about earlier about the chicken plates, the barbecue plates. You know, where it's like when people sell the chicken plates, I always talk about how that is the original GoFundMe in the Valley, the chicken plates, where, you know, like, you know, you all gather up in a parking lot on Saturday and, you know, you get your plate, and sometimes you get Texas toast and you get excited because it's a little bit bigger than the normal Texas like toast. But it's that thing where the chicken plates have always been grassroots, and it really has been about community literally showing up and buying a plate to support someone's cause because that's what they have to work with. And, you know, it's funny because to me, it's interesting how you have a shot at winning. And I love that, because what it shows me is that the beliefs that you have are worth more than someone's donation to so many people, you know. But having said that, we also need to make sure that we can support you as much as we can. So right now, the people watching, you know, tell us, how can we support you? What can we do to help you to amplify your voice? Because I want to do that. How do we help you?
Awesome. So there's really 3 things that we're focusing on. First of all, phone banking. We've got a really good operation going on of phone banking. So if you want a phone bank, we'll go ahead and make sure that you guys get that information. We're doing a lot of text banking, which is really easy. You can just sit in front of the TV and press the button like this, and you text a bunch of people, and that's extremely helpful. And the last thing is obviously donating. If you want to, you know, give $5, $10, or whatever, that all adds up and is extremely helpful too.
Awesome. And where can we find you on social media?
Instagram. I'm not very good at Instagram, but you can find me on Sarah Texas. Yeah, I'm probably easier to find on Facebook because I do know how to work that. So you can just find me, Sara Stapleton-Barrera for Texas Senate. You can email me. My website is sarastapletonbarrera.org. I'm easy to find. My cell phone number's on the internet, so it's really easy to find me.
All right, so really quick before I let you go, and I do the Mexican goodbye where I say I'm gonna let you go, but we're gonna be here for like 5 more minutes. I just want to remind people, you also have I wanted to plug some volunteer opportunities with Planned Parenthood Texas Votes PAC. There's phone banking available. You can volunteer July 9th, July 13th, just anytime at all. If you want more information, please contact Planned Parenthood Texas Votes for more information. And early voting. Let's talk about the election. Early voting deadline. That's what? July 10th, right? So we got a couple. Yeah. We got a day. We got tomorrow.
We have tomorrow. So get out tomorrow. If you don't, you've got to get out on the 14th, which is election day. But it's better to go easier because you can do curbside. There's less lines. It'll be smooth sailing if you go today or tomorrow.
Right. So early voting, guys, remember, you know, right now in the Rio Grande Valley, we got to take care of ourselves. We've got a virus that is out there that we just need to protect ourselves at all costs. But it's also important to vote and let your voice heard. So when you go out, wear a mask. Early voting, you can take your time. I'm sure it'll be easier. You know, it's easy to do it. Just show up, make your little vote, boop, 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 and then you're out skis. And then you can go back home and protect yourself. But, you know, and like Sara said, the election day is July 14th. So actual election day, if you're one of those people that likes to go out on the official election day to do it, go out and vote. Let's do this. Honestly, this is a chance to try to make some change in the Rio Grande Valley. People watching this, tell your mom, your dad, your tia, your tios, your abuelos, anyone that can do it. Tell them to go vote. This is really important. We need this. So everyone out there, if you want to donate, we still have time to donate. Please go to sarastapleton-barrera.org. I will say that just as a throw out, if anyone, my Twitter handle is Cristela9. If you guys donate up to $400, I'll match it. So
nice.
Just donate, show me that you donated, and I will match your donations up to $400 as of now. So, and then maybe we can do more just to get the ball rolling. So if you want, go donate at the website, show me the receipt at Twitter, and let's try to get her some money so that she can go out and change the world. So, Sara, any last words? How do you want to end this? How do you want to say goodbye to the voters?
I want to tell you this. You guys helping me and us doing this together, we can literally make history. We will go down in history for having the first female senator out of this district. And then once I'm in office, for making monumental changes that reshape the entire narrative of South Texas. Out with the old establishment, time for some new blood, but we've got to do it together.
Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for tuning in. Thank you, my Rio Grande Valley people. I hope that you had some little breakfast with us, maybe some pan dulce, breakfast tacos. I don't know. But I had a great time talking to you, Sara. Thank you so much. And honestly, after we log off, I'll reach out and see how I can help you. We need to amplify this and spread the word and make sure that people know they have to go vote. It's important. And I really, for me, I live in Los Angeles, but my heart belongs in the Rio Grande Valley, and my goal is always to try to change it for the better. So let me know what I can do to help you. Thank you so much for taking this time to talk to me and actually amplify the voice. And thank you so much to the Planned Parenthood Texas Vote account for inviting me to come and have this conversation and allowing us this public space to get the word out. So if you want to make a choice about choices, vote for Sara. Thank you so much, everybody. Have a good day.
Thank you.
Bye.
So much. Bye.
Bye.